And then the other is, I don't know about the other parent, but I think they're the same parents, same father and same mother, but of different litters. So they have different kind of faces. I'll have to get them. Maybe I can get one too. One is wearing a cone because she was spayed this week, and the other was spayed the week before.
How are they meshing with your other dog?
They're so gentle. These new big ones, it's more the little dogs, the Cocker Spaniel, that's, trying to, that, well, still remains kind of the alpha dog. I mean, these dogs don't know how big they are. I mean, one is 1 year old and one is about maybe 2 years at the most.
They're puppies.
They're just so gentle. I mean, I don't know how living this kind of outdoor life is just made them just such gentle, wonderful. I mean, it's really hard to believe we have them. I mean, it's like they're a miracle. They're just so beautiful. I hope, one of them will come up in the studio.
What did you name them, or did they already have names that you kept?
Well, one was named Ida anyway, and the other was named Lady, but we made it Marta. Lady Marta is the other. So I guess that's a big thing. I guess that's my hesitance, my short-term memory beginning dementia.
No, it's not. There's a difference between short-term memory and dementia.
I know there is. I know there is.
Don't know. Bill, what'd your family do for Christmas?
Our daughter lives nearby, and she and her husband have 3 children. So we spent Christmas Eve and Christmas with them, and our son and his wife and 4 children. They go to Deer Valley for 2 weeks, so we'll catch up with them when they get back.
Where's Deer Valley? I've never heard of that.
Next door to Park City.
Oh, they're skiing or boarding.
Yeah.
I've skied at Park City. My mother had a tradition which I insist on following, is that there's a program where people talk about the meaning of Christmas, what Jesus stood for, read The Night Before Christmas, The Littlest Angel. I read from Luke about the birth of Jesus, so that the kids understand it's not just about presents. Does your family do anything like that? Like talk about what Jesus stood for?
Well, they go to a Christian elementary school, so they do practice that, and they do through Advent. They probably do the same thing, but they certainly know the story of Christmas. That's for sure.
What my rap is always, Jesus was a radical revolutionary. He violated all kinds of Old Testament taboos, touched a woman who was bleeding, talked with a Samaritan woman who was an outcast, talked with a prostitute who was an outcast, and that he bore witness to women. He talked theology with women. And whereas in Old Testament, the tradition was men study Torah and women manage the household. So, and he emphasized friendship, love, turn the other cheek, not an eye for an eye. So, does anyone disagree with me that he was a radical revolutionary feminist?
Well, radical, I think in today's vernacular, implies something else. So, when you think of radical, you think about the crazies on the street that are rioting. So I just don't put Jesus in that same.
Radical means go to the root, as in mathematics. So a radical is someone who goes to the root of things. Hey, Ginny, you did it.
Finally.
Sorry, I could hear you. I could hear
you. There you are.
Yeah, I can't get my camera and thing.
Yeah, what was the church that you grew up in?
I grew up with Church of Religious Science, which is New Thought, positive thinking, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Is that related to to Christian Science? Is that related to that?
They have similar beliefs that you create your life with your intention, your patterns of thinking, what you put out there, that we create our lives. They don't believe in original sin, or that you have to accept Jesus Christ as your savior in order not to burn in hell. So it's a different approach. But the difference with Christian Science is Christian Science really doesn't like their people to see doctors, because they think that you do a good job of prayer and with a practitioner that you can heal. So I think that's kind of the difference. And I'm interested in those New Thought religions because a lot of them were started by women, like Christian Science, Seventh-day Adventists, Shakers. They had women founders, which interests me. So let's say that Jesus wasn't, well, he was crucified because he was not with the current political trend.
right. Very true. Yeah. So I guess in that way you could say he was a radical. Yeah.
And a feminist because he made no distinctions based on gender ever.
Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he thought the end time was imminent. So he said, let the dead bury the dead so you can focus on saving your soul. So I think that's part of why he didn't talk very much about gender roles, because he thought, what's the difference? We're going to be judged soon, so get your act together.
Right.
So Jenny, we're going around talking about how we celebrated Christmas, but tell them about the otters.
We had a wonderful walk today, didn't we? Yeah, we saw, well, first of all, a big heron, and then he with a big bill, and we were getting ready to take a picture of him, but I don't think, did you get a picture of him?
I got one in flight, but way in the corner of the screen, so little, nothing powerful.
But then we saw otters, and we had never seen otters in the creek before. And they were, well, first of all, we saw one swimming along and then a second one. And it turns out there were probably 5 together. Wouldn't you say 5? 4 or 5 at least. And then they got out of the river and onto a branch, and we're all jumping off and swimming and playing like otters play. So it's really thrilling today. That was a lot of fun. So
I put the video on my Facebook if anybody wants to see the otters.
I've got some still pictures, but the ones of them on the limb were too fuzzy once you made them bigger, so they're kind of worthless. Yeah, it was fun today.
And so with 4 children and 6 grandchildren?
6 grandchildren,
How do you manage?
Well, unluckily or luckily, depending on how you look at it, only 3 are in town, 3 are in the Bay Area. And so I send all my presents and gifts before. And actually now all of the children now, all the grandchildren are too old really for gifts. They'd rather have money, so it's pretty easy. And then we FaceTime on Christmas Day with them and the grandchildren in town, and they're older too. All of them, 2 of them are in their 20s and one's a teenager. And so we saw them on Christmas and Christmas Eve. It was great.
Did they do anything special in Mass to celebrate the birth of baby Jesus?
Well, of course, the homily is focused on Christmas and the coming of Christ and the impact that he made in our world. But no, the Mass is always the same. You can count on it through the same protocol, the same order of the Mass. And it's just the difference. And of course, the choir music and things like that. But no, I mean, it's always celebrated. It's probably downplayed a little bit because I grew up a Protestant, Presbyterian, and there's so many similarities. And but what I did see was that there is more feeling of, oh, I can't say, well, I don't know I don't know what I'm gonna say. It, the choir, we have a choir and it's very nice, but there's probably more celebrations amongst the congregation in a Protestant congregation, I think.
That's
I-
interesting.
Well, it's, I guess because there's so many Catholic masses too, you can go, but we've, for years, we've gone to the 8 o'clock mass and everything we do. And so we see the same people. It's considered the old people's mass because the younger people don't like to get up that early. And Tabby, did you tell everyone about our trip?
Oh, no.
She hasn't spoken yet. Why don't you go ahead, Taffy?
Oh, no. Well, I won't talk about Christmas. I'll talk about in middle of October, my husband and I took a trip to Southern Oregon. We were celebrating our wedding anniversary, 55 years. And since Ginny lives in Northern California, I asked her if she and her husband might like to join us for a weekend. And she and Gary we went to Jacksonville, Oregon, which is near Ashland and Medford. And we had a wonderful weekend of visiting wineries. You wouldn't believe all the wineries that are in that area. And we just had such a good time. We stayed at a lovely bed and breakfast there in Jacksonville and found some wineries. And basically we drank wine and laughed. And we just had a wonderful.
I don't know what we did more of.
Well,
more laughter.
So we checked in at this beautiful bed and breakfast, and we were talking with the receptionist, and we said, yes, we've been friends since junior high, and we now have gold in our teeth, silver in our hair, and we both wear hearing aids, and we're 80. But you know, what was funny is we went to this restaurant. Ginny and Gary drove 4 hours from their area, and of course we drove 2 days to get from Idaho down there. So when they arrived, they were hungry, and we went to this restaurant for lunch, and we started talking about Paul Revere, junior high, and I don't know, various other things. So this couple was sitting near us, if you remember, and the lady got up and she came over and she said, well, pardon me for eavesdropping, but we live in Mandeville Canyon.
That's funny.
And which is, you know, right at the headwaters of Paul Revere Junior High. And so anyway, that was, you know, like they say, it's a small world. So anyway, we just had a wonderful, wonderful visit. And it brings tears to my eyes right now, thinking about what a great time we had. And on our way home, we were driving I-5 going up to Portland. And so I tuned into one of Gail's last interviews. And one of them, it was Joel Rosenberg. I think it was Joe Rosenberg. He was talking about Boston and his long commute, which he rides his bike. And then we also were listening to John Lees talk about his art exhibit in New York. And so we Googled you and we looked up whatever the link was, your art exhibit there in New York City. And anyway, it was a fascinating hour, which helped pass the time on I-5. And I turned up the volume so my husband could listen, and he enjoyed listening.
Was it the one where I was talking? Just me
Yes.
talking?
Yeah, well,
You know, that's you know, I find, I don't know if it's kind of dangerous you're driving with that thing on, because for any of you who have insomnia, I tried watching that thing and it put me to sleep twice during the same. But I'm kidding.
So,
Thank you.
anyway, it was very interesting, and it helped pass the time. And I had of course, my phone, and I put it on speaker, and so my husband could listen to the whole thing. And anyway, we had a wonderful weekend, Jenny. Very memorable. It was
Wonderful.
perfect. Yeah.
Kent, did
Love
you
you.
celebrate Hanukkah? Are your kids are in LA?
One of them is in Colorado, and one of them is in Mexico City.
Oh, right.
But all three of us are going to be together at the end of January here in Los Angeles.
Mhm, mhm.
Does Hanukkah mean something to you at this stage of life or not?
No, not really.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm glad that everyone can have the holidays and vacations and celebrations that they're entitled to.
Mhm.
But no, to me, no, my favorite is Thanksgiving and New Year's
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
because for me, they both represent an opportunity to do some thinking and make improvements or
Mhm.
believe that we're making improvements.
Mhm.
When you were growing up, what did you learn about Hanukkah? Festival of Lights, the oil lasted for 8 days. What was the story?
Well, not too much because, we're Reformed Jews and, not into the religious part of it or the church part of it.
Mhm.
Does anybody else know the story? All I know is there was like a miracle. The oil that was supposed to run out lasted for 8 days, and it was some divine intercession.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Mhm.
What about our New Year's resolutions? You got
Oh,
Stop eating cookies.
Christmas cookies, you can't stop eating.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we'll eat carrot sticks instead of cookies. That's a good resolution.
Put it-
I've got
Not.
a better one. I've got a better one. Eat cookies.
Enjoy life, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Eat a cookie and then go for a walk.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We have to with our dogs. John, what would you do differently or new in 2024?
Um, well, I'm really, I'm trying to deal with my sloth in some ways the way I dealt with substances, kind of like a one day at a time. I'm really trying to do the exercises that I was given to do in physical therapy, having mostly to do with my knee.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to take a shower first thing in the morning before I have coffee so I can get
Yeah.
dressed
Wake yourself up.
yeah, instead of waiting, postponing. It's very easy for me to postpone things. And I've just been, I just I've just been sort of confused about a lot of things having to do with that and the show and just a lot of stuff. And I'm gonna started cleaning my studio up.
Mhm.
I'm just it's just sort of time to
Mm.
um get my act together again. Um,
You're not
I'm not saying it's a resolution because I know that doesn't always work, you know. But now for 3 days in a row, I've gotten up and taken a shower immediately and gotten dressed instead of hanging around in my pajamas and
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
but I still like to read when I get up, read and have coffee.
Right after you take a shower and get dressed.
Yeah, now I'll be clean and doing it clean and everything. And of course, today I even shaved.
Oh, because you knew we were going to see you.
Yes.
I even put on makeup because I knew everybody was.
Um,
John, is it snowing there? I can look out your window and I think I'm seeing a rooftop, but it kind of looks like there's a dusting of snow on.
It looks kind of like that, but no, it's not snowing. It feels almost like early spring.
Where do
Oh,
you live? Where do you live, John?
I'm in New York State,
Where?
near Albany. So it's
Oh,
about 2.5 hours north of New York City,
okay.
just close to the Hudson River, just west of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess a lot of my thoughts about Christmas had to do with the first 7 years of my life that I spent in New Jersey. And I had these very distinct memories of, it being a winter holiday. And it was a big shock kind of when, coming to California and I lived there for 30 years after that. And So I think that's a lot of the thoughts I had about Christmas had to do with seasons.
Mhm, mhm.
But now that I'm here and have the 4 seasons, I start to miss the dry heat of Southern California. So what do I do? I do, it's true.
Love the one you're with.
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
yeah,
Kathy, what about you? What are you planning for 2024?
Oh, well, nothing yet. We keep looking at different trips and thinking about where we'd like to go. And then we think about every time we hear someone going on a cruise, they always come home sick, and we don't want to do that. And we are planning we haven't made any reservations yet, but we'd like to, a friend of ours is sub-renting a condominium in the Marina Del Rey. And she said it has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So we would like to go down for a week to the Marina Del Rey and visit her, and then see our old haunts. Go to Pacific Palisades, and drive by all the houses that we used to own that are now worth $5 million.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And let's see, what are we planning? Our daughter is going to visit us in March. She lives in near Des Moines, Iowa, and she's going to come in March for a nice weekend visit. But no, we have sometimes we're just spontaneous. We'll decide a week or two before to do something. But we had some really nice trips planned for 2020, and then COVID came along, and we had to cancel. And then, that kind of knocked us off our feet about planning for trips. And we've done a lot before. And so right now we're just happy to be here and think about, maybe 2 months from now, what we might do. I'm trying to get my husband to go to Hawaii, but I don't think that'll ever happen. The last time I was there in 1966.
But he doesn't like it?
No, he's not although we lived in Malibu for a long time, he's not a beach type person. And he thinks all there is in Hawaii are beaches and sand. And I keep telling him there's a lot of beautiful sights and drives. And anyway, I just can't get the fire lit underneath him. And
Yeah, you
if you
should
go
go to the
some-
Big Island because it has volcano,
I
incredible
know. I
botanical
know.
garden.
I can't get him motivated. So no use fighting it. So
Mhm.
anyway, no big plans,
Mhm.
but just enjoying life. And anyway, so I'm trying to look at a tour book of LA. I'm thinking when I do go to the Marina Del Rey, I'd like to go as a tourist instead of resident who never goes anywhere. I'm thinking I'd like to go see the Getty that's on that sunset in the 405. I haven't seen that, and it would be nice to go to the Descanso Gardens and
La Brea Tar Pits, Venice
Yeah.
Beach.
yeah. Oh man, I've been to Venice Beach. I've seen enough of that.
Oh,
do
Yeah,
many of you like miss Westwood Village or go there often?
I have a neighbor down the street. He went to Uni High. He graduated in '73, and he and his wife lived in Westwood Village. And I don't know what her maiden name was. And he said his wife was one of 14 children, and they went to St. Monica's High School in Santa Monica. But he went to Uni, and yeah, so we talk about Westwood Village every now and then. But
I miss it. I look at photos of the way it looked when we moved there, which would have been in 1955, and well, pre-Kirkby building, pre-Kirkby and Lindy buildings, the way the village used to look and everything. And
Mhm.
I really remember. I miss it.
Mhm.
I think about it a lot.
Yeah, was
So that's what I remember about Christmas, is going to the Westwood Village when we were youngsters. We weren't even driving yet, and we would pick up the bus. This was my friend Dee and Sherry that lived right up the street on the other side of Sunset. And we would take the bus into the Westwood Village and shop all the stores and and it was like December 22nd or 23rd, the weekend before Christmas, and we'd do all of our Christmas shopping then. And it was just so festive. I have such
Yeah.
wonderful wonderful memories of Westwoodville, how wonderful it was, how small and decorated for Christmas and catching the bus and going back. To me, that really was part of the Christmas experience.
Yeah, I think about that too when I think of Christmas, because we live close to there, and but I remember Westwood Village so well. I mean, in those two theaters, and I go there every Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And they had the Bruin had this 12 cartoons and a science fiction movie. In the morning, you get with a pass from Weatherby Kaiser shoe store, and then I'd go across the street
Mhm.
and probably see something at the Village Theater, but I mean, I just have such distinct memories
Mhm.
of Westwood Village.
Do you
I'd
remember?
like to paint it. I would like to paint Westwood Village as it looked in the 50s.
I can remember going to, what did they call it when they had the first showing? It was even before the movie came out, and they would surprise the audience.
Preview.
Premiere.
Premiere.
Yeah.
A premiere of a movie. It was called the Helen. What was it called? The Helen Morgan story.
Oh,
With this young aspiring actor, Paul Newman.
mm,
That was the day that I fell in love with Paul Newman.
wow.
And who knows, it turned out to be a major star.
Yeah, those were the days when there were two features.
Yes,
Two
right.
feature movies.
right.
Mhm.
Kent, what about you? Any plans, goals, changes for the next year?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going in March down to Mexico. I lived many years there,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna check it out and see if it's a place that I'd like to spend more time there.
Mhm.
I have friends there. I have a son in Mexico City. Uh, and I'm gonna see if there's a place where I can do my jewelry and gemstone work without having to take my own equipment.
Mhm.
And I'm sure I can find that because there's a lot of that in different parts of Mexico. So
Mhm.
that's my major plan.
What's the cost of living now? I just spent a week in Baja, and it sure wasn't like the old days in Mexico where everything was a lot less expensive.
Well, no, it's more expensive now, but if you know your way around, you'd consider it a lot cheaper than living in Los Angeles, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What city calls you? I mean, Mexico City probably would be expensive.
Well, actually, Mexico City isn't that expensive.
Uh-huh.
It can be. I mean, they have everything. There's a lot of variety there. Mexico City will kind of be like a base for me because that's where my oldest son lives. Also, the city of Aguascalientes, which is smack dab in the center of the republic. I have place to stay there, and
Mhm. Oh, lost you.
Oh, we can't hear you anymore.
I like traveling around in Mexico. Go down in the car, which allows me to get around, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have grandkids there with your son?
No, I have one grandchild here in LA with my son who's here. She's just turning 6 years old.
Hmm. It's a good age.
Yeah,
It's interesting. He has a grandson 6, and I have a great grandchild who just turned 9.
Wow.
I know. Well, I
Somebody was
didn't have
blowing-
kids. I didn't get married until I was 20, I think 29 years old.
Mhm.
No, I think I was older because I didn't have my first child until I was like in my early 40s.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. Well, that's okay.
Well,
Um,
it worked out for me well.
Mhm,
It allowed me to do what I wanted to do,
uh-huh.
which
So
which I wouldn't have
I have a question.
wanted to do, but I would have wanted to do even if I had been married.
as a bullfighter,
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you get into bullfighting? That's an interesting occupation.
Well, I got turned on to it by watching bullfights on television when I was in junior college. And then I decided I wanted to become a bullfighter.
Oh.
I went to a town, which is Aguascalientes. I already mentioned that. It's in the center of a lot of bullfight activities, ranches that raise the fighting bulls. And,
Mhm,
and just had to figure out how to break in. Because
mhm,
it's a closed
mhm,
atmosphere. It's an expensive profession to actually get into, and I had to figure out how to do it on my own because
mhm,
I didn't have sponsors or investors or anything like that.
Mhm.
And so, it was old school because when I was there, it was the end of the old school, poor kid wanting to be a bullfighter and going from small town to small town. And it was the end of that. It was a romantic era, but it was the tail end of it. And now it's totally different. It used to be that a kid would, a poor kid with no opportunity in his little village that he was born in, where if he was successful, he wanted to be successful to buy his mother a home, right? And this is in the end of the 60s. And today it's that the mother uh, will mortgage her home to help her son
Uh,
become a bullfighter.
Quite the opposite, yeah.
It's quite the opposite, yeah. So, now it's always been that certain kids had advantages, connections or money or things like that. But now it's the only way that you can get anywhere.
So
So
how long did you do that? How long did you do the bullfighting thing? And
I did it in two different eras. I
Mhm,
did 7 years professional, 4 years or 6 years away from the bulls, and then back for another 6 years.
so you were able to earn a living
Yes, eventually.
eventually, yeah. Well, did you ever get stabbed by the bull?
Uh, just once,
Oh,
wasn't a bad deal.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
What was worse and what stopped my career in the mid 70s, uh, my star was rising. I had for the first time several contracts in my pocket. I didn't have to go out, and hustle up, where's my next fight coming?
Mhm,
And the bulls started throwing me a lot and trampling me, stepping on me, and an old high school injury of my back flared up, and I just couldn't do what I was doing
mhm,
that was making me successful. Because you
mhm,
have to be real relaxed and you have to be real fluid in your movements,
mhm,
and I couldn't do that. And so my career just petered out,
mhm,
and I never thought that I would get back. Matter of fact, I avoided bullfighting because it would make me kind of sad that I couldn't be in. And I had activities, I had work and I had my jewelry business as well.
mhm,
And
mhm,
and then I got married and we lived in Mexico, and you know, for like 11 years, I was trying to get my back in shape. No medical experts were able to help me. And, you know, finally I did that. I was married, I had kids, and I had a good job. And I was able to go back to the bulls. And this time my wife didn't object to it.
Oh,
So then I did 6 years, just kind of part-time, but
mhm,
but they were very satisfactory.
mhm. Well, it's almost a little bit like the ballet dancing, the moves you have to make. with the
It's very similar.
Mhm,
It's similar to anything where you have to give your all,
mhm,
and then Mother Nature starts having her effect,
mhm,
and all of a sudden you're a veteran. You're not
mhm,
a contender, let's say,
mhm.
and it's interesting, real interesting.
I read somewhere that they give the meat of the bull to the poor to eat as food. Is that true? And do they kill the bull after each fight, or do they reuse them?
No, a bull is only goes into the arena professionally one time.
Oh,
Oh,
You
really?
know, because yeah, they learn very quickly, and in 20 minutes, you know, you have a different bull than when he first came out.
Mhm,
Smarter, more intelligent,
mhm,
harder to fool. You know, you have to fool the bulls to
mhm,
be able to show them
mhm,
what how you want them to charge, where you want them to finish, where you want them to turn around to come back for you. But the bulls, some of them are smarter than others, and they're harder to fool. So they're
mhm,
always killed.
mhm,
You know, either in the ring, or if the bullfighter doesn't actually kill the bull in a certain amount of time, then it's a big disgrace. They take the bull outside of the ring, but they still
Kill 'em.
slaughter it.
Oh,
They
that's
still slaughter it, and in the old days, they say that they used to give the meat away to the poor,
mhm.
but there's a butcher that buys the meat and he sells it.
Oh, well, that's sad. They only use them once, and then that's the end of the bull. That's really
Right.
that's
Well, it's not so sad, really, from one
mm,
point of view. It's that
can't
the
go.
bull, if, you know, let's say that the bull is a tiger, right?
Mhm,
And nature and his bloodline makes the tiger a hunter, right? And it
mhm,
makes him very formidable. Uh, he would rather not have to hunt, but he hunts for necessity, right? Or she does.
mhm,
Uh, and so let's say all of a sudden, you know, they're put into captivity, and that's not where they're supposed to be. You know, they can't really express themselves. It would be like if somebody puts me away, you know, because the I don't have what I used to have, you know, the qualities that I used to have. I don't have them, so they just put me away. It's kind of not fair.
mhm,
You know, I think it's better to go when you're happy than to go when you're sad and all
mhm,
in
mhm,
bad shape. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Can I ask a very naive question?
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
you're a naive person. Go ahead.
oh, thanks. I think. No, I mean, this is the kind of thing, Chris Cabot used to would yell at me about, or I'd read, Ernest Hemingway and things like that, and so I didn't ask questions like, but the one is always, if the bull wins, if he kills the bullfighter, why can't he just go be put out on a field and be
Probably
allowed to
cows.
chase cows for the rest of his life?
Well,
yeah.
because it's it's uh it's very expensive for the rancher to take care of his animals. You know, You know, no other animal that's raised costs more money to maintain. And so the rancher doesn't want an animal that he has to just support. The only ones that he keeps are if a bull comes out so good, gives such a good performance, and the bullfighter is at the same level that the bull is at. If the public demands it, the bull gets the indulto. And el indulto is his life is pardoned. He's cured and he goes back to the ranch as a seed bull. You know, so he's producing there. He's not just mooching, you know.
Oh, that's like the Brave one, the movie The Brave one.
Did you see that or no?
I did finally see it. Yes.
What did you think of that, John?
Well, I'm so sentimental about animals and things like that. I mean, of course I liked it. I was worried, of course, that he wasn't going to get through it, that he and the kid would be, would be parted.
Well,
I mean,
it was a great story. It showed you a lot of authentic stuff about the bullfight atmosphere. The
Mhm.
kid was great, and the writing was terrific. So it was a great movie, and I wanted you to see that. I had been promoting it for you guys for a long
Yeah.
time, and you finally took me up on it.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
happy.
I think I saw it after I was talking to you. I mean, I thought about it a lot, it's knowing you and everything. And I've thought about those things differently,
Has
About
anyone
a
else
boy and a bull.
has anyone else seen that? It's called The Brave One in English, and
What's it
it's in
about?
English. Well, it's about this kid whose family, his father, he's a ranch hand on a ranch that breeds, amongst other animals, fighting bulls. So they're poor, they're peasants, and the rancher sees the kid. There's a storm, and a cow is missing, and the kid goes to look for it in the fields, and the cow had just given birth to a little male calf, right? And so the kid, and the cow dies. The kid starts caring for the bull. Well, let's not call him a bull yet. Let's call him a male infant, right?
Yeah.
And and so when the rich rancher sees this, he decides to gift the bull, which is now about a 2-year-old or a 1.5-year-old, to the kid, right? So he does that, and he gives him a paper. He signs a paper that says, this bull belongs to this kid. And it turns out that the rancher, who was a sportsman, he was a Formula One racer. He gets killed in a race in Europe, and so the estate is going to be disposed of, and the kid can't find the letter that proves that the rancher had given him the animal. And so the animal gets sold and it's taken to Mexico City, and it's the adventure of the kid following to Mexico City because he couldn't let his animal be killed.
Nice. I just Googled The Brave One. I was looking up, well, what comes up, it's a movie with Jodie Foster. Anyway, it's 2007. And
No, that's not it. That's not
yeah,
the one.
obviously. So how long ago do you think this movie was made?
It was 1956.
Oh, 19,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, 56.
It was well known at the time, and
Ah.
and the reason I got to know the movie or knew about it first without seeing it was that when it came time for the best screenplay, best original screenplay, They called it the name and it was something Rich. I think the last name was Rich. And he didn't show up.
Okay, here it is.
They didn't know. So it turned out it was written by Dalton Trumbo, who
Oh.
was blacklisted.
Yeah.
And that I don't know how long it took for that to come out.
Mm, yeah.
There was a
I-
film biography of Dalton Trumbo.
Yeah. Yeah,
recently.
there was. Yeah. Well, here are nominations: Academy Award for Best Story, Academy Award for Best Sound Mixing, and more. Anyway, so I found it. Here it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, check it out. It's a real tender story.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it looks good.
Jenny and Bill, we want to hear about your plans, goals, wishes for the next year, new year.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I just want to get through it. We have absolutely no plans, but I think it's probably more of the same, which is, as I've always said before, it's my nice quiet life. Yeah, no big plans, just hopefully good health for everyone. And I'm just so happy that I was able to get on this time. I realized my camera was covered. That's why I wasn't here before. But yeah, I want to wish everybody good health, because I've talked to a number of people, not classmates, but friends who are going through times and getting sick. And I feel so fortunate myself, and I wish the best for everyone.
Thank you.
Before, Bill, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but I wanted to tell you that it was so nice to talk to you at our reunion, and we had a nice conversation. And all these years, I mean, growing up with all of you and not knowing you and having conversations with you. And it's just, I've enjoyed this very much.
Mhm.
And I'm going to have to leave in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be done in 5 minutes.
Okay, we're babysitting our 2 grand dogs right now. Gail knows that.
It's time to take a walk.
And it's not raining right now, and so I've got to get them outside.
So I have one
Approved
question
by
for Ken. Have you ever watched Voladores, I guess you call it?
What do you call it?
Voladores?
No,
They-
I have no
They go
idea
up-
what that is.
Well, they go up 100-foot pole. This is only in Mexico, I guess. And then they tie their feet and they come and they descend upside down and they go around. And it's a custom in Mexico, and I guess you train for it, and there's competition. So
Are there bulls? Are there fighting bulls involved?
no,
Is it when
Oh.
boys become men? Is that
It's like a maypole where you hang.
right, yeah, but it's 100 feet up in the air. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, they have that. I've seen that.
yeah.
Well, what's the point? How do you win?
Just
Well,
entertainment.
I thought Kent could answer that question.
Well, they do it just for entertainment, and they do it mostly in the smaller towns when they're at their fair time. It's an inexpensive form of entertainment to
Okay.
promote.
Yeah,
Those
you can go
all
on
you need.
YouTube and look up under Valadores, and there's videos of these people climbing up this 100-foot pole, and then they come down upside down, and they seem to have a good time.
They're
with it.
held by their ankles?
Yeah,
Huh.
Yeah,
and it's very ceremonial. Yeah.
but now there's another sport that uses the big Spanish fighting bulls. There are guys that go out without any cape or anything like that. They sight the bull charges, and they do all kinds of acrobatic things to avoid getting injured by the horns. And these guys are nuts. They're crazy.
I saw that on TV recently. The guys are all dressed in white pants. But
Right.
They kind of skip over the barrier and climb up a wall quickly. And sometimes the bull actually goes over the barrier.
Right,
So-
and sometimes they sight the bull. These are big, strong fighting bulls, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
go after anything that moves. They consider their enemy and they have to destroy, right?
Mhm.
So when the bull charges, one of the you know, one of the acts that they do is they do like a cartwheel when, you know, when the bull is approaching.
Uh-huh.
They have their back to the bull and they time it so when the bull would reach them, they jump in the air and do a backward somersault over the bull
That's
and
amazing.
land on their feet. I mean,
That's
Whoa.
acrobatic. That's courageous.
Bill,
That's,
I'm
you have
glad-
that's related to those old the bull leapers in ancient Crete.
oh,
The
yeah.
Right.
Minoans, there are all
right,
those paintings of they grab the horns and they do somersault over them.
right. But these guys today, they're on a higher level, you know.
Hmm.
Bill, we don't want to leave without hearing, do you
Yeah.
have any trips planned, anything that you want to do new? And
No trips planned. What I'm kind of focusing on, amongst other things, is the counter to the indoctrination that elementary and high school students are receiving about DEI and ESG, multiple sexes, multiple genders. And the way I'm trying to support that, beyond being involved with the local school district, is supporting people like Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA, Young America Foundation, and Dennis Prager, who I think are true truth tellers in the era of this indoctrination that students are receiving in junior high school and high school. So
this is about like non-binary and trans kids.
that's part of it. Yeah.
And what's the other part?
Well, DEI is diversity, equity, inclusion, and ESG is environmental, social, and governments. I mean, they cover a lot of territories, but a lot of it's purely indoctrination, and it's not good for our society. It's not good for our nation. Not good for patriotism.
Well, it seems like DeSantis in Florida is kind of leading that kind of charge.
Yeah, no, I think he's, to a certain extent, that is correct. Yes. But
What about a
these-
kid who really is trans and really feels like they're in the wrong body?
pardon?
What about a kid who really is a transgender kid and feels they're in the wrong body and are going to commit suicide if they don't get to be their right gender?
Well, hard for me to evaluate that. What I'm concerned with was with the acceptance of that, and it's almost like a contagion now. So 0.5% of adults are transgender, but you got 1.5% of youth under 18 who think they're transgender. So you're seeing a growing interest in this. And then when it comes to the mutilization of the genitalia, I think, as minors, I mean, that's just going way too far for youth. You know, after 18, they can do what they want. But to do this to kids that are under 18, I think it's just it's very sinful.
Do you
Got it.
feel then that a child is not mature enough to make that
Yes.
decision?
Well, you know, I mean, we don't let them, they can't buy cigarettes, they can't buy alcohol. There's so many, they can't vote, but yet you're a child of 11, 12, 13 years old saying, you know, you can cut off my breast or cut off my genitalia because I think I'm someone that I'm really not. I mean, you know, at that age, we all go through phases and every kid does, and you normally grow out of it.
But do they actually do that to 11 and 12-year-olds?
Yes, they do.
They do hormone treatment. I don't think they do surgeries,
Doesn't-
but they do hormones.
Who makes the decision? The kid?
Parents and physician.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
they're too
anyway,
young.
that's
They're too
kind of my
young.
focus for the year coming up. Yeah.
Interesting. All right,
Yeah.
my dears. Happy New Year. I hope it's a
All
peaceful
right, thanks.
year.
Happy,
Yeah,
Thanks
Happy
for
New Year to
hopping
all of
on.
you.
There.
good to
Okay.
see you.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year's, everybody. Keep
Enjoyed it